A planned national security meeting between President Lai and opposition party leaders follows through.
赖总统用你最大的智慧，用你最大的智慧去化解大罢免，才是朝野对话的最重要的一个基础。
Taiwan's domestically built submarine completes its first sea trial. We ask a defense expert whether the vessel is worth the cost. As the Iran-Israel conflict shows no sign of de-escalating, all eyes are on how the U.S. might respond. Plus, Taiwan is taking visitors back in time to Japan's Edo period, with a show featuring one of its most iconic works of art. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chan. President Lai Ching-te's plan for a crucial national security briefing has fallen through after opposition leaders refused to participate. Leslie Liao has more on what the meeting was supposed to be about and why it didn't go ahead.
A long-anticipated national security briefing scheduled for Wednesday morning would have marked the first time in Taiwan a sitting president briefed opposition leaders on sensitive national security issues. Quite significant considering rising tensions in the Taiwan Strait and the many threats that Taiwan faces from China. But this briefing is now not going forward. The main opposition Kuomintang chair Eric Zhu and the smaller Taiwan People's Party chair Huang Guochang both declined the invite. There were reportedly some disagreements over the format and what was on the agenda. Originally, this meeting was supposed to be an icebreaker between Taiwan's ruling and opposition parties, which are feuding intensely now. It was an olive branch President Lai extended in a speech for his one-year anniversary in office. The presidential office has expressed regret over the opposition leaders' decision, but stressed that the door for communication is still open. One of the reasons TPP chair Huang Guochang gave for not going to the meeting was that he didn't want the meeting to be just about national security. There were also disagreements over whether parts of the briefing should be open to the public or remain closed door throughout, as the presidential office requested. Another major block seems to be the ongoing mass lawmaker recall movement. Civic groups have launched recall campaigns against dozens of KMT lawmakers, and many of them are expected to head to a public vote in the next few weeks. The KMT's Zhu has explicitly said he wants these campaigns against KMT lawmakers to be called off before cross-party talks can happen.
赖总统用你最大的智慧，用你最大的智慧去化解大罢免，才是朝野对话的最重要的一个基础。
On Wednesday morning, the DPP held its own press conference accusing the opposition of threatening national security by neglecting legislation aimed at bolstering the country's defenses. A DPP legislator also responded to the opposition's unwillingness to attend the briefing in a rather colorful way.
总统520就跟你讲要做国安简报，邀请在野党大家听一下国安简报。国庆就要直播，我跟你讲啦，若要直播，恁拢免来啦。 要直播就迄国安简报都报备，全台湾包括阿强啊、习近平拢看会到。
But despite those strong words, the presidential office and the KMT have both expressed willingness to continue to communicate. So even though the national security briefing didn't happen on Wednesday morning, there's still hope that the frigid relations between Taiwan's opposition and ruling parties can thaw. Luffy Li, Justin Wu, and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Several senior Taiwanese defense officials have traveled to Alaska to observe the second Red Flag Alaska Air Force exercise this year. The U.S. Defense Visual Information Distribution Service released a photo showing representatives from air forces across the Pacific, including from Taiwan. It was later removed from their website. The exercise aims to exchange tactics, techniques, and procedures with participating countries and to boost cooperation between their forces. The training runs through June 27th. Taiwan's first domestically made submarine, the Haikun, has completed its initial sea trial. The $1.67 billion vessel is part of the country's bid to modernize its military amid increasing aggression from China. Several countries, including the US and UK, help with its development. Taiwan aims to have 2 locally made submarines on active duty by 2027. For more on the latest progress, our defense reporter Haikun spoke to David Sachs, a security analyst with the Council on Foreign Relations.
Part of the funding for Taiwan's submarine program is frozen in the LY until it passed sea acceptance tests, and now we're seeing that underway. What do you make of that progress for Taiwan's military?
Yeah, it's good progress. As you mentioned in your question, the submarines have been highly contested in the legislature, and that was frozen by the opposition until they hit certain milestones. So I think that, hopefully that is now going to be unfrozen if the submarine continues to make progress. Again, you can argue, is that money best spent on submarines, or is it best spent on other capabilities, dollar for dollar? But my argument has always been that that has been resolved. Taiwan's government has been committed to the submarine program. And so the question is, knowing that, is it better to have 1 submarine or 10 submarines? And given the kind of sunk cost to this program for Taiwan, if all it did was end up with 1 submarine, that would be a huge waste, right? All the R&D, all the man hours that it's taken to develop this platform, to manufacture it in Taiwan, and now to test it. I mean, your unit costs are going to go down the more you make, because in my view, it is an asymmetric capability. We know that China struggles, at least to this point, with anti-submarine warfare. It adds questions to planners, I think, in the PLA about whether they can find these submarines and destroy them during a conflict.
Let's say Taiwan does complete the program and get 8 submarines in its fleet. How would they be used in a peacetime and in a wartime scenario?
Again, this is something that's incredibly difficult to do, is to find a submarine, and obviously to take it out. It's also something that the United States has a comparative advantage over the PLA and is seen as an enduring US advantage during a potential conflict over Taiwan. So I think that it adds uncertainty to the Chinese planners. So, of course, the question during an invasion, I think, is straightforward, is that they would try to destroy the, invading forces crossing the strait.
With these new capabilities, do you think Taiwan has a chance to do some sort of intelligence sharing with the United States and partners, given that it's able to operate in the same area as these countries?
And I think is going to be a big question. If the U.S. Navy is obviously going to bring to bear its own submarines in a potential conflict over Taiwan, then there's going to have to be some level of understanding about the water management between the U.S. Navy and Taiwan's Navy, and which side is going to do what. So that conversation will have to happen. On whether there's going to be intelligence sharing or opportunities for that. I'm not too sure, but I think that at the bare minimum, there's going to have to be probably conversations between the U.S. and Taiwan about what role they play and how to deconflict and manage allied forces during a potential contingency.
That was David Sachs from the Council on Foreign Relations. The government is seeking to make it easier for foreign nationals to live and work in Taiwan, in particular a bid to retain foreign talent by making sure their children can get into the local education system.
为了小孩子，他小孩子没办法读书，那他得回去，一进来很无助，所以我们就这几个我们都会打包，一起把它处理，建立一个好的生态。
The National Development Council is also waiving work experience requirements for graduates from the world's leading universities. It's also extending how long people can stay in a country on digital nomad visas and expanding the eligibility for permanent residency. This comes as Taiwan's population and workforce faces a demographic bottleneck ahead, with the government trying to attract foreign talent to fill the gaps. Taiwan's COVID wave continues with 38 deaths from the virus reported last week, a single-week high for this year. One of those who died was a 20-year-old man, the youngest person affected this year. Most severe cases and deaths have been among people aged 65 and older. Health authorities say the current outbreak has mostly plateaued. They expect it to ease by early August. An NGO called No HIV by Heart has worked with doctors and researchers on a report calling on the government to pay more attention to the health of sexual minorities and HIV prevention. Irene Lin was there.
It's been nearly 4 decades since Taiwan reported its first HIV case. And while sexual health awareness around gay men has grown since then, sex workers and transgender people still fall outside of the discussion. A new white paper report from local NGO Known HIV by Heart finds that many from these marginalized groups lack knowledge of how to prevent or get help for HIV, and the barrier to public resources and professional help persists.
取得资源的过程，每一步对他们来说都是，到底是要揭露到什么程度？到底有没有需要揭露？我今天看这个为什么要讲？所以变成很多人因为这些困难、这些障碍，他就决定去选择，他就会限缩他自己做资讯或资源取得的这个机会。
Sex workers are at high risk of contracting HIV, and physicians are often more likely to prescribe them pre-exposure medication like PrEP. But without a legal way to prove their work status and a hesitancy among sex workers to see doctors, many do not get access to these treatments. And for transgender people, there are added risks of taking PrEP as they undergo transition.
预防投药啊，或者是这些疫苗，很多时候也会想说，那会不会跟我现在的荷尔蒙有一些抵触？那或者是说，比方说以 PrEP 来讲，一个跨性别女性，她要用男生的方式去用呢，是要用女生的方式去用？
Advocates in the medical and research field today say structural changes are needed to spark more public discussions about sexual health, including those around prevention and treatment.
民间团体的话，主要就是整合这些资源，然后直接是服务他面对的这些社群朋友。就是民间团体的力量其实不够，其实我们还是会需要除了公单位的这些资源之外，其实我觉得来自私人的这些，比如说企业啊这些资源，其实也很重要。
Professionals today hope with more help from the public and private stakeholders, they will be able to guide more minority individuals to the medical help they need and ensure their safety at work. Ryan Wu and Irene Lin in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Tensions are rising in the Middle East, with Israel and Iran exchanging missile strikes and the death toll continuing to rise. As John Ventres reports, the question now is how the United States will respond. A warning, some of the images in this report may be distressing.
Raja Khatib's wife and 2 of his daughters are dead. An Iranian missile hit their home in northern Israel. Part of an intense series of attacks Israel and Iran have been trading all week now. In between the strikes, people like Khatib are left to bury those who didn't find shelter in time. The missiles don't discriminate. This is an Arab Israeli town. Khatib is Muslim. He says he wishes the missile had taken him too. And he has a plea to those with the power to stop the fighting. Do it.
I am paying a heavy price. I lost my dear family. But learn from me. No more victims. Stop the war. Let's end this horrible war in any way we can. Sit at the negotiation table. Talk and end this war. Please, for the sake of future victims.
But that doesn't look likely. As Iranian missiles rain down on Israel, which made the first strike, continues to hammer Iran too. The Iranian Red Crescent released this footage of what it says is the aftermath of an Israeli strike that left people buried under rubble. On both sides, the rhetoric is still sharp too. Israel has warned Iran's leader he faces a fate like that of Saddam Hussein in neighboring Iraq, toppled and executed.
You should remember what happened to the dictator in the neighboring country to Iran, who took the same path against Israel.
While Iran says it's just getting started.
The operations carried out so far have merely been warnings for deterrence, and a punitive operation will be executed soon.
On the ground, on both sides, daily life has been turned upside down as the two fighting powers warn civilians on the other side to evacuate certain areas. In Israeli cities where wailing sirens warn of incoming missiles, some people have taken to underground shelters. Like these people in the parking garage of a Tel Aviv shopping mall. Israel may be at war in Gaza and in conflict with groups around the wider region, but some here say the Iranian missiles are bigger and louder than barrages they've seen from elsewhere. While long streams of jammed cars pour out from Iran's capital, Tehran, a big target for Israeli strikes, leaving places like the city's Grand Bazaar shuttered and deserted. The question now is what the United States is going to do, as neither side backs down. The U.S. is a key Israeli ally with the kind of ground-busting bombs that could help Israel hit deeply buried targets. Some Iran watchers say U.S. President Donald Trump's recent rhetoric, including a call for Iran's total surrender, signal that this conflict could soon flare into something even bigger, maybe even something the U.S. gets pulled into.
Right now, we are most likely the hours before a major escalation, rather de-escalation. What Trump has been signaling, tweeting today does not seem to suggest that he has any plans to actually give diplomacy a real chance.
And so, a part of the world already beset with crises faces yet another one, with perhaps even more deadly results. Dolphin Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
At least 16 people are dead and 134 others are injured in Kyiv after Russia launched one of its largest airstrikes on the Ukrainian capital since the war began. Residents there say they're lucky to be alive.
У мене таке враження було, накрило повністю все тіло, все так знов до голови. Там з волосся трошки виковирювало. Дрібне скло, повністю все.
The strike is part of a wave of intensifying Russian attacks that Ukrainian officials say are becoming harder to defend against. This one included nearly 500 drones and missiles fired in a single night. Ukrainian officials have called for a day of mourning on Wednesday. A volcanic eruption in southeastern Indonesia has splattered ash 10 kilometers into the sky. 10 people were killed when Mount Lowotobi Laki-Laki volcano erupted last November. No casualties have been reported from the latest eruption, but authorities have raised the alert to its highest level, warning of possible lava flows. Many flights in the area have been canceled. Laki-Laki has already erupted several times this year. The Seoul International Book Fair has kicked off, bringing together authors and publishers from all over the world, including many from Taiwan, this year's guest of honor. It attracted large crowds of readers excited to find their new favorite reads. Cadence Garanta was there.
Authors, publishers, and book lovers from all across the world have descended on South Korea's capital city today for the opening of the Seoul International Book Fair, which is well underway all around me. It's been Korea's largest book festival for nearly 70 years, connecting those involved in creating and publishing books to those who read them. This year, over 500 publishing companies and other related organizations from 17 countries are participating, including exhibitors from Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. The event kicked off this morning.
3, 2, 1, 지하를 날려주세요.
Officials say this year's book fair is particularly important at a moment of change for both Korea's publishing industry and its government. Korea has just elected a new president. The previous president was ousted after he temporarily imposed martial law on the country.
새로운 대통령이 책을 사랑하고 그 정책이 책을 사랑하는 사람들을 늘려가는 것이기를 간절히 기원합니다. 마음에 들지 않는다고 계엄령을 선포하고 국민들이 갈라치게 되고 언론 출판의 자유가 제한될 위협에 처하게 만들었던 사람들이 바로 얼마 전까지 권력을 장악하고 있었습니다. 새로운 출판 정책은 책을 만드는 사람들을 억누르고 분열시키지 않고 힘을 북돋는 것이길 바랍니다.
Korea's publishing industry faces a turning point as well, facing the effects of AI and audio technology. Amid this climate, officials here emphasize the importance of maintaining a sustainable book industry.
책을 읽지 않는 사회는 결국 생각하지 않는 사회, 질문하지 않는 사회가 될 수밖에 없습니다. 비판적 사고와 창의성, 공감과 연대의 힘은 모두 독서에서부터 시작됩니다. 그 어느 때보다도 독서를 바라보는 깊은 고민이 필요할 때입니다.
He says generating interest in books among younger generations is especially important. And here at the book fair this year, there are many young people.
The thing is that it's our first time here, and we thought that it would actually be a nice day to come here to see how people enjoy books. And we're excited to actually see all the other international publishers, especially the Penguin Random House, because we grew up with those children's books. So,
I read this a lot.
Yes.
I just bought this is a literature magazine, so I'm interested in Korean literature. Yeah, my major is also Korean literature.
Those from Korea tell us that reading books is now becoming popular again among young people in the country because of local independent bookstores and social media.
It is trend in Korea, younger people. Yeah.
To read actual books.
Yeah, read actual book and to post reading books in Instagram.
People started lining up to pick up their wristbands for the book fair over an hour before the doors opened, eager to get inside. The fair's theme this year is the last resort, which it describes as that one thing, idea, or person you turn to when life gets tough. It's dedicated an entire exhibition to this concept. The fair's guest of honor this year is Taiwan, with a dedicated pavilion right at the entrance of the book fair, displaying over 500 Taiwanese titles, hosting cultural events, and offering Taiwanese snacks. The pavilion with its own kickoff today.
We hope this space give you not just only the book school, but also the real being of Taiwan, and our story, our emotion, and our way of life.
Crowds of people visited the pavilion on opening day, including one of Korea's past presidents, who has been out of office since 2022 and has since opened a bookstore. The fair will go on until the 22nd. Over the next few days, there will also be many talks and seminars going on, discussing topics like the effects of AI on the industry. So this space feels like it's buzzing right now, with people from all different places sharing ideas and knowledge, publishers making connections, authors sharing their work, and book lovers maybe even finding their new favorite read. Ska Huang and Cadence Quaranta in Seoul for TaiwanPlus.
An iconic Japanese artwork featuring towering waves and Mount Fuji is on display in Jiayi, southern Taiwan. Our reporter Sandy Chi was there to see it.
Giving visitors a glimpse into Japan's past. This is the Beauty of the Floating World in Edo exhibition at the National Palace Museum's branch in Jiayi, southern Taiwan. It features over 200 artworks from the 16th to 18th century. They include folding screens, hand scrolls, and woodblock prints, typical of what's called the floating world, or ukiyo-e style, evoking the urban life and culture of the time.
就我个人来说，它里面的一些细节，非常多的细节，那呈现出来的是在江户时代的人们的生活的各种场景，然后各种行为、各种动作等等。那同时也包含了当时人们的审美观，或是看世界的角度。
Ukiyo-e works flourished during that period, demonstrating high levels of technical skill and creativity, and they even influenced Western music and art.
透过贸易，那荷兰的商人把日本的浮世绘然后传递到了西方，那西方的画家开始注意这样子的一种艺术表现形式，我们版画的艺术表现形式看起来颜色非常的丰富，然后构图又非常的特别，那再加上有些浮世绘当中充满了动态然后动感，那这样子就影响了西方的艺术。
Among the artworks is the famous woodblock print, The Great Wave Off Kanagawa, by Katsushika Hokusai, which features towering waves engulfing small boats with Mount Fuji in the background. The artwork is so iconic that it's everywhere in Japan.
Just take out a 1,000 yen banknote issued in 2024 and you can find it right here.
The work has even been praised by the Dutch master Vincent van Gogh, describing the great waves as resembling the claws of an eagle.
这件作品呢，好像按下暂停，对吧？你那个播那个看那个 Discovery， 然后那个海浪冲下来了，不按暂停，你再按 Play 的时候，它这个浪就会下来了。
Many visitors were astonished to get a glimpse of the waves in person, traveling from all over Taiwan.
我是从台北来，神奈川冲浪里，这个是绝对的，是一定要来看，因为已经把它变成一个神了。
葛饰北斋的那个，就是那个神奈川冲浪里，就觉得那个还是最印象最深刻。这样，这虽然小小的一幅，但是就觉得其实他画得很精细，这样，对，然后那个海浪那个都画得我觉得很真实啊。 就好像可以让人家看到那个年代的那个场景。
To date, over 50,000 have visited the event since it opened to the public on May 30th. The exhibition will run until the end of August, one of many events celebrating the National Palace Museum's 100th anniversary. Klein Wang, Peachy Zhuang, and Sani Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, enjoy more images of the beauty of the floating world in Edo exhibition in Jiayi. I'm Betty Chen. Take care and see you next time.
For more stories from Peru and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.